My daughter-in-law cut my husband's heart medication in half, and I had no idea it was happening right under my roof. Even worse, my own son knew everything. 2 days later, my husband collapsed, and the doctor told me something that froze my blood. Someone had changed his medication, and it could have killed him. In that moment, everything I believed about my family started falling apart. And what I did next changed everything. Before I tell you what happened, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? Because this story deserves to travel everywhere. If you love emotional real-life drama stories like this, make sure to subscribe. My name is Evelyn Harper. I'm 71 years old, and I live in a quiet little town just outside Cedar Ridge, North Carolina. Now, if you've ever been to a place like this, you already know the picture. Porch lights glowing at night, neighbors waving like everybody knows your whole story, and folks dropping off food like kindness is still a habit, not a surprise. That's the kind of place I raised my life in. And for most of my years, I believed something simple. Family is everything. I used to say that like it was a fact, not an opinion. Fact. I was married to my husband, Thomas Harper, for 46 years. 46 years. That's not just marriage. That's a lifetime stitched together. Morning coffee before sunrise. Arguments over silly things like thermostat settings. Quiet evenings where we didn't even need words to understand each other. Even when arthritis started twisting his hands, he'd still reach for mine. And I'd always take it. Because Tom wasn't just my husband. He was my home. But life, it has a way of shifting when you least expect it. Last winter, everything changed. Tom's health started slipping. First it was small things, fatigue, dizziness. Then came the real issues. Blood pressure problems. Heart complications. Endless doctor visits. One doctor finally sat us down and said it straight. Strict medication. No missed doses. No mistakes. And from that day on, I became his shadow. Same pills. Same time. Every day. I even wrote it down like my life depended on it. Because honestly, it did. Now, I need to talk about my son, Daniel Harper. My boy. Or at least the boy I remember. Daniel wasn't always distant. Not at all. When he was little, he used to follow Tom everywhere. Fixing things in the garage, handing him tools, laughing at jokes that weren't even funny. He used to sit between us during dinner like he never wanted to leave that table. But things change. After college, after he got married, something shifted. Slow at first. Calls became short. Visits became busy. And then came the words I heard one afternoon that changed everything. Just temporary, Mom. Rent's crazy right now. That's how Daniel and his wife Ashley ended up living with us. Temporary. Yeah, sure. Ashley was polite. Soft voice. Always smiling. But I'll tell you something real. Not every smile feels warm. Some smiles feel rehearsed. You know that feeling? Like someone is looking at you, but not really seeing you? Yeah, that was her. Still, I kept quiet. For Daniel. For peace. For family. Big mistake. It started small. One evening, I walked into the kitchen and saw Ashley holding Tom's medication bottle. Just standing there. Too comfortable. Too familiar. I stopped and asked, "What are you doing, honey?" She turned fast. Too fast. And smiled that tight little smile. Oh, I was just organizing things. Helping out. Helping. Funny how that word can sound sweet and wrong at the same time. A few days later, she came back to me like nothing ever happened. Casual. Relaxed. Like we were talking about grocery prices. Maggie, she said. That's what she called me sometimes, even though my name is Evelyn. These meds are expensive. I found a way we can save money. I frowned. What kind of way? She shrugged like it was nothing. I switched them with a cheaper version. Same thing basically. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's when my stomach turned cold. Something inside me whispered, This is not okay. I asked her straight. Did the doctor approve that? She rolled her eyes just a little. And I saw it. That little disrespect she thought I didn't notice. Doctors always overcharge, she said. It's fine. And then Daniel walked in. And I swear, that moment still sits heavy in my chest. Because he didn't look confused. He didn't look shocked. He just nodded like it was normal. And said, Mom, relax. Ashley looked it up. It's the same thing. Relax. Same thing. Easy words. Dangerous words. That's when something cracked inside me. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like glass under pressure. Because I realized something I didn't want to accept. My son, my own blood, was no longer standing on my side. Still I stayed quiet. I watched. I listened. Because something in my gut wouldn't shut up. It kept saying the same thing over and over. Evelyn. Something ain't right in this house. The next day I noticed something else. Tom was sitting on the back porch, wrapped in a thin blanket, staring out like the world had slowed down for him. I went inside to grab him a thicker one. That's when I saw her. Ashley. In their bedroom. Moving around the side table drawer. Not cleaning. Not organizing. Searching. I stopped cold. My voice came out sharper than I expected. What are you doing in here? She turned. And for a split second, her face changed. Not confident. Not sweet. Just scared. Then she laughed awkwardly. Oh hey, I had a headache. I couldn't find painkillers in my room. I thought maybe you had some. She held her head like she was performing it. I really needed it. It's hurting bad. Something didn't feel right. I could feel it in my bones. But I forced myself to breathe. I walked to the drawer, closed it slowly and said, Here is Tom's medication. Don't mix things up. Then I went to my dresser, took out a painkiller and handed it to her. She grabbed it fast. Too fast. Thanks, she muttered. And left. But I didn't move. I just stood there watching the doorway she disappeared through. 'Cause deep down, I knew that wasn't about a headache. Not even close. I didn't sleep much that night. Not really. You know that kind of sleep where your eyes are closed, but your mind won't shut up? Yeah, that was me. Every little thing Ashley said. Every look Daniel gave. It kept replaying in my head like a bad movie stuck on repeat. Something about him felt off. He was quieter than usual. More tired. Not just old tired. Wrong tired. The next morning I got up early. Same routine. Because when life feels out of control, you hold on to what you can. I went into the kitchen and started making breakfast. Scrambled eggs soft just how Tom liked them. 2 slices of buttered toast. And a small bowl of oatmeal with a little honey. Nothing fancy. But it was ours. I placed everything carefully on a tray. Then I poured him a cup of green tea, watching the steam rise. And I remember thinking, he didn't look good yesterday. Maybe I should call the doctor again. My hands paused for a second. That feeling again. That same quiet voice in my gut. Something's wrong. And then, thud. Loud. Sharp. Not normal. Right after that, a sound I will never forget for as long as I live. Tom gasping. Struggling. Like his body was fighting something it couldn't win. The tray slipped from my hands. I didn't even feel it hit the floor. I just ran. Fast as these old legs could carry me. Tom! My voice broke before I even reached the room. And there he was. On the floor. Twisted awkwardly. Barely breathing. His lips pale. His eyes half open but not really seeing me. Tom! Tom! I screamed, dropping beside him. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold his face. Stay with me, baby, stay with me. I grabbed my phone, fingers slipping, heart racing like it was gonna explode. 911, what's your emergency? My husband, he collapsed. He's not breathing right. Please, please hurry. I don't even remember what else I said. Time stopped making sense. And you know what makes it worse? Daniel and Ashley weren't there. Their room was empty. No note. No sound. Nothing. Later, Daniel said they had stepped out for groceries. Groceries? At that hour? Yeah, okay. The ambulance came fast, but not fast enough for my heart. They took him from me, put him on that stretcher like he was already slipping away. And all I could do was follow, praying under my breath like a broken record. God, please, not him, not like this. At the hospital, everything felt cold. Too bright. Too fast. They rushed Tom straight inside. Doors swinging open and then closing in my face like I didn't belong there. I stood outside that operating room, hands clasped, lips moving, whispering prayers I hadn't said in years. I'm not ready. Please don't take him, please. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like forever. Then finally, a doctor walked out. Serious face. No softness. No comfort. Just truth. He looked straight at me and said, "Ma'am, why did your husband skip his medication?" I blinked. My brain couldn't even process the question. What? His voice got firmer. His condition worsened because he hasn't been receiving the correct dosage. This is very serious. How could this happen? Careless. That word hit me like someone slapped me across the face. I felt my chest tighten. My voice came out shaking but strong. I give him his medication every day. Every single day. The doctor didn't flinch. Didn't soften. He just said, "I'm telling you what the report shows." And then he leaned in slightly and said something that made my blood run cold. If you had arrived even a little later, he could have died. That's when it felt like someone grabbed my heart and squeezed it tight. I couldn't breathe for a second, because I knew something he didn't. I never missed a dose. Not once. That's when I went quiet. Real quiet. Not confused anymore. Not emotional. Just thinking. Because now this wasn't about bad luck. This wasn't about age. This was about something being wrong. The doctor straightened up and said, "We're moving him to the ICU. He'll stay there until his condition stabilizes." I nodded slowly. My voice barely came out. "Can I see him?" He shook his head. "He's unconscious. Not right now." And just like that, he walked away, leaving me standing there with more questions than answers. I sat down in the hospital lobby. Cold plastic chair. Hands folded tight in my lap. My mind racing. If I gave him his medicine, then what did he actually take? That's when Daniel and Ashley finally showed up. Rushing in. Faces tense. Breathing a little too fast. "Mom, what happened?" Daniel asked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, something didn't feel like concern. Felt like fear. "He's in ICU," I said quietly. "The doctor said they'll keep him there until he stabilizes." Daniel nodded. Ashley held her chest like she was shocked. "Oh my God, that's terrible." Her voice was perfect. Too perfect. And I noticed something. Both of them kept glancing at each other. Quick looks. Silent communication. Like they were checking something without speaking. That same feeling crept back into my chest. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. I didn't tell them what the doctor said. Not about the medication. Not about the dosage. Nothing. I kept it to myself. 'Cause now, I wasn't just a worried wife anymore. I was watching. Waiting. Thinking. Because something inside me had finally stopped doubting. And started understanding. And the truth? It was getting clearer by the second. Whatever happened to my husband wasn't an accident. I sat there in that hospital lobby, watching people walk past me like the world was still normal. But for me, nothing felt normal anymore. After a while I stood up. Slow. Calm. Like nothing was wrong. I turned to my son. Sweetheart, I need to go home for a bit. Daniel frowned. Now. I nodded gently. I need Tom's extra clothes, his blanket. You know he hates hospital sheets. That part was true. Ashley stepped in quick, too quick. We can go later. I cut her off soft but firm. No, it's fine. I'll be quick. I gave them a small smile. The kind that hides more than it shows. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. All right, Mom. Be careful. Be careful. I planned to be. The drive home felt longer than it ever had. The house looked the same from the outside. Quiet. Normal. Like nothing had ever gone wrong. But the moment I stepped in, it didn't feel like my home anymore. It felt like a place where something had been done behind my back. Something ugly. Because one question kept circling in my mind. If I gave him his medication every single day, then why was he getting worse? I didn't waste time. I went straight to the bedroom, opened the side drawer, and there it was. Tom's medication bottle. The same one I'd been giving him from. Same label. Same pills. At least that's what it looked like. I didn't try to figure it out right there. Didn't overthink. I just took the bottle. Then grabbed a few other things, Tom's sweater, his glasses case, my shawl. Normal things. Things that made it look like I came home for a reason. Not the real reason. Back at the hospital, Daniel and Ashley were waiting. Everything okay? Daniel asked. I nodded. Yeah. Got what I needed. Ashley gave me a quick smile. But her fingers were tapping against her arm. Fast. Nervous. We sat there for a while. Silence hanging between us like something nobody wanted to touch. Then Daniel stood up and stretched. Mom, we're gonna head out. It's getting late. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Wouldn't you stay? I asked quietly. With me, with your father? He avoided my eyes for a second. Mom, I'll come tomorrow. I'm just tired. Tired. That word hit different. I stared at him for a moment, like I was trying to find the little boy who used to follow his dad around the house, the one who wouldn't sleep unless Tom tucked him in. But I couldn't find him. Not anymore. I took a deep breath. Slow. Heavy. And nodded. All right. They left. Just like that. And I sat there, watching the direction they walked, feeling something inside me quietly breaking. Then suddenly, something clicked. A thought. Sharp. Clear. I stood up fast. My heart started racing again, but this time not from fear. From certainty. I walked straight down the hallway to the doctor's cabin. Knocked twice. Come in, he said. I stepped inside. He looked up and recognized me. Oh, Mrs. Harper, please have a seat. I sat down. But I didn't waste time. I pulled the bottle out of my bag and placed it in front of him. This, I said, my voice steady, is the medication I've been giving my husband every single day. He picked it up, looked at the label, opened it, poured a few pills into his hand, examined them closely. For a moment he didn't say anything. Then he frowned slightly. These appear to match the prescription. I leaned forward. Then how is this possible? That's when he paused. Really paused. Like something in his mind was starting to connect. He looked back at the bottle. Then at me. Are you absolutely sure? This is what he's been taking? My voice didn't shake this time. Yes. Every day. He took a breath. Then said quietly. All right. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. My chest tightened. What does that mean? He looked straight at me. It means we need to be certain. He closed the bottle and placed it on the table. We'll send this for lab testing. That night, I sat beside Tom's ICU bed. Machines breathing for him. Numbers blinking like his life depended on them. And maybe it did. I held his hand gently. Cold. Still. And I whispered. I'm here. I'm not letting this go. You hear me? The next day, they moved him out of ICU. Still weak. still unconscious, but stable enough to be in a regular room. That word stable felt like hope, but I wasn't at peace. Not yet. I was sitting beside him when the doctor walked in, file in his hand, face serious. Too serious. My heart dropped instantly. He checked Tom first. Monitors. Vitals. Quiet. Focused. Then he turned to me. Mrs. Harper, can you come with me? My chest tightened as I followed him to his cabin. Every step felt heavier than the last. He gestured for me to sit. I did. But my hands, they wouldn't stay still. He looked straight at me and said, "We got the lab results." My throat went dry. And he opened the file slowly, then said, "The medication inside that bottle is not consistent with the prescribed drug." For a second, I didn't understand. What does that mean? He met my eyes. It means the contents have been altered. My fingers gripped the edge of the chair. They've either been diluted or replaced with ineffective compounds, he continued. Your husband wasn't receiving proper treatment. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. Just silence. Heavy. Crushing. Finally I managed. But yesterday, you said everything looked fine. He nodded. Yes. Visually, many medications look identical, but chemically, they can be completely different. That's when it hit me. Fully. Completely. This wasn't a mistake. The doctor leaned forward slightly, his voice lower now. Serious. This is extremely concerning, Mrs. Harper. I looked at him, still trying to breathe. He continued. This could be considered an attempt to harm. If you want, we can inform the police. Police. The word echoed in my head. Loud. Sharp. My heart pulled in two directions. One voice whispered, "It's them." The other screamed, "No, not your son, not your own blood." I swallowed hard. "Give me some time," I said. He nodded. "Of course." I hesitated, then asked, "Can I have the report?" He studied me for a second, then handed it over. Yes. I held that paper like it weighed 1,000 pounds, because it didn't just hold results. It held truth. I stood up, then paused. "Doctor." He looked at me. "Can you arrange a nurse for tonight? I might need to step out." He nodded. "Of course. And if my husband wakes up," I added softly, "tell him his wife just stepped out for something important, and she'll be back soon." He gave a small understanding nod. "I will." I turned, walked out of that room, each step steadier than the last. 'Cause now, this wasn't confusion anymore. This wasn't doubt. This was something else. Something stronger. And as I walked out of that hospital, holding that report tightly in my hand, only one thought remained. I was going to find out the truth no matter who it led to. The day air felt colder than it should have. Or maybe it was just me. I stepped out of that hospital, gripping the report in my hand like it was the only thing keeping me steady. The doctor's words kept echoing in my head. The contents have been altered. This could be an attempt to harm. Attempt to harm. I got into my car, but I didn't start it right away. I just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slow, thinking hard. 'Cause deep down, I already knew where I was going. The drive back home felt different this time. Not confused, not emotional, focused, like something inside me had finally made up its mind. When I reached the house, I opened the door with my key and stepped inside. I didn't rush in, didn't slam the door. No, I moved quietly, slow, careful, like I didn't want the house to know I was back. And then, I heard voices. From Daniel's bedroom. I froze. Every nerve in my body went still. Daniel's voice came first. Sharp. "Why aren't you ready? We have to go to the hospital." Ashley answered, irritated. "I can't go. I hate the smell of medication." My eyebrows pulled together. Then Daniel snapped. Don't make excuses. This all happened because of you. Because of you, Dad is in the hospital. That hit me like a punch. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Ashley's voice came back low, tense but angry. I told you this would happen. He almost died. My heart dropped straight to my stomach. But I didn't panic. No. I composed myself. Slow. Careful. I slipped my phone out of my purse and pressed record. Daniel's voice dropped, nervous now. Keep your voice down. Ashley snapped back. Oh, now you're worried about volume? You weren't worried when you agreed to switch the meds. My fingers tightened around the report and my phone. So tight the paper crumpled in my hand. Daniel spoke again. This was supposed to be temporary. Just until we figured things out. Ashley fired back. Figured what out? How long it takes. How much we save. You know how expensive his medication was? Or when it finally works. Finally works. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. But I didn't move. Not yet. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Frustrated. Scared. You said it wasn't dangerous. Ashley snapped. I said it shouldn't be. There's a difference. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Then she lowered her voice. But we're already in this now. Backing out won't fix anything. That was it. That was the moment. The last piece. The truth. And what hurt the most? Not her. Not the plan. My own son. Ashley spoke again. We just needed more time. That's all. The house, the money. It was all gonna be ours anyway. Ours. Daniel didn't respond right away. When he finally did, his voice was quiet. Guilty. This wasn't how I wanted it to go. That sentence cut deeper than anything else. Because it meant one thing. He knew. He knew the whole time. I stood there for a few more seconds, recording everything. Every word. Every truth they thought was hidden. Then slowly, I stepped back, turned, and walked out of the house. My hands didn't shake. Not anymore. Outside I took a deep breath, pulled out my phone, made a call. Short, clear, no hesitation. Then I took a picture of the report, sent it, along with the recording, every piece of proof, every word. I stared at the screen for a second, then pressed play on the recording. Let their own voices fill the silence. And then, I turned around and went back inside. This time, no quiet steps, no hesitation. I walked straight to Daniel's room. They both turned the moment I entered. Faces pale, eyes wide. I looked straight at my son and said, "What were you saying?" They froze. Ashley recovered first, of course she did. She forced a laugh. "Oh my God, you scared us." I cut her off. Sharp. Cold. "What were you saying?" She glanced at Daniel, then back at me. "Mom, I don't understand what you mean." I took one step closer. "You were talking about medication." Silence. They tried to cover it, mumbling, deflecting, but I didn't stop. Enough. My voice dropped. Heavy. Final. I heard everything. Daniel went quiet. Completely. Ashley's mask? Gone. Cracked wide open. "Okay, fine," she snapped. "Yes, we changed it. But it wasn't supposed to." "Stop." My voice shook. But not from fear. From anger. Deep. Burning. "You don't get to explain this like it's a mistake," I said. "You don't get to dress this up like it's nothing." I turned to Daniel. And that broke something inside me. "Your father trusted you," I said quietly. "I trusted you." He couldn't even look at me. Ashley jumped in again. "We needed money. Things were tight." I laughed. A broken, bitter laugh. "So you decided to play with a man's life?" Then I looked at my son, straight in the eye. "I'm talking to you, Daniel Harper." He finally looked up, voice shaking. "Mom, We didn't want to harm Dad. You know how expensive his medication is. For a second, I just stared at him, like I didn't recognize him anymore. You chose money, I whispered. Over your father? My voice cracked. But I didn't stop. That same man who worked day and night so you could have everything you needed? Ashley scoffed. Well, that's what parents do. I turned to her slowly. You're right, I said. Parents do everything for their children. Then I paused, looked her dead in the eye. But not every child does this. I turned back to Daniel. And every time I gave you money to bring his medication, you took it. He went still. Every bill in this house? I continued. Paid from rental income. Not you. Your contribution? Half groceries. Not even full. My voice hardened. Because your father didn't want to burden you. A bitter smile crossed my face. And you repaid him by pushing him toward death. Silence filled the room. Then I said the one thing that shattered him. The doctor said, if I had been a little late. I paused. He could have died. Daniel's face drained of color. What? I'm sorry, he whispered. We didn't mean. I raised my hand. Your sorry can't fix this. And then, we heard it. Police sirens. Loud. Close. Both of them froze. Daniel looked at me. Fear in his eyes. Mom, why are the police here? Ashley stepped back. Panicking now. The door opened. Officers stepped inside. Evelyn Harper, one of them asked. I stepped forward. Calm. Steady. That's me. I pointed at them. They're the ones. Daniel's voice broke. Mom, please. Ashley rushed in. She's lying. She has no proof. I looked at the officer, then handed him my phone. A small cold smile on my face. I already sent everything, I said. The report and the recording. Then I added, and here's one more. I pressed play. Their voices filled the room, confessing. Every word, every lie, every truth. The officers didn't hesitate. They stepped forward. And just like that, handcuffs clicked. Ashley broke down. Daniel kept saying, Mom, Mom, please. But I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't cry. I just stood there, watching, because in that moment, I understood something very clearly. Sometimes justice doesn't feel good, but it's still right. The house went quiet the moment the police car pulled away. Too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort you. It echoes. I stood there for a long time, in the same spot, looking at the door they were taken through. My son's voice still ringing in my ears. Mom, please. But I didn't move. Didn't run after him. Didn't break down. Because something inside me had already accepted one thing. The son I raised wasn't standing in that room anymore. After a while I turned, walked back to my car. Slow steps. Heavy heart. But steady. The drive back to the hospital felt different. Not sharp like before. Not confused. Just quiet. Like the storm had already passed. And now I was left standing in what it broke. When I reached the hospital, the sun was starting to set. That soft orange light coming through the windows. The kind Tom always liked. He used to say, sunsets remind you. You made it through the day. I walked into his room. Slowly. Gently. And there he was. Still weak. Still pale. But breathing. Alive. I pulled a chair close and sat beside him. Took his hand in mine. Warm this time. And for the first time in 2 days, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I'm back, I whispered. I told you I would be. For a moment nothing happened. Just the soft sound of machines. Then, his fingers moved. Slight. Weak. But real. My heart jumped. Tom? His eyes fluttered open. Slow. Confused. But there. Hey there. I said softly. Don't you scare me like that again. You hear me? He tried to speak. I leaned closer. What happened? He whispered. I swallowed that truth again. Held it back. You got sick, I said gently. But you're gonna be okay now. I got you. He looked at me for a long moment. Then his eyes shifted around the room, searching. Where's Daniel? He asked. That question. It hit deep, but I smiled lightly. He'll come by later, I said. He's just tied up with some things. He nodded slowly, too tired to question it. But the next day, he asked again, stronger this time, more aware. Evelyn, where's our boy? And that's when I knew. I couldn't keep this from him, but I also couldn't take a risk. Not at home, not where help wasn't right there. So I made a choice. Careful one. I adjusted his pillow, held his hand, and said softly, I'm gonna tell you something, but you gotta stay calm, alright? He looked at me, concerned now, serious. I'm right here, I said, and the doctors are right outside. Then, I told him everything. Not rushed, not harsh, just the truth, piece by piece, about the medication, about what the doctor found, about the conversation I heard, about Daniel. I watched his face the whole time, every reaction, every breath, shock, confusion, pain, the kind that doesn't show loud but cuts deep. His hand tightened in mine, weak but trembling. No, he whispered. Not my son. My eyes filled, but I stayed steady. I know, I said quietly. I didn't want to believe it either. For a moment, I thought he might break, that his body might not take it. But then, he closed his eyes, took a slow breath, and held my hand tighter. He made his choice, Tom said faintly, and just like that, I saw it. The strength, the acceptance, not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. I'm still here, I whispered. He nodded slightly, and that's when I finally allowed myself to breathe again, because I knew, even the truth didn't take him away from me. The next few days passed slowly. Tom got stronger, little by little, step by step. But the house? That house didn't feel the same anymore. A few days later, I made a decision, a hard one, but the right one. I went to see Daniel. At the station, he looked different. Not just tired, not just scared, empty. For a second, I saw my little boy again. The one who used to run to me after school. The one who used to say, Mom, wait till Dad hears this. But that moment passed. Fast. Mom, he said quietly. I stood there. Didn't move closer. Didn't reach out. You okay? I asked. Simple. Distant. He looked down. No. Silence filled the space between us. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he said. I thought it would be fine. I nodded slowly, then said, I believe you. He looked up, hope flickering. But you still did it. That hope? Gone. Actions don't disappear just because you didn't mean them, I said. His eyes filled with tears. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I love you, I said quietly. And that's never gonna change. He broke. Right there. But what you did, I continued. That changed everything. I took a step back. Your father almost died, Daniel. Silence. Heavy. Final. I'll always be your mother, I said. But I won't stand between you and the consequences of what you chose. I turned, walked toward the door. Mom, please don't go. I paused, just for a second, didn't turn around. Then I said, I already lost you once, and I won't lose myself trying to pretend I didn't. And I walked out. Back at the hospital, Tom was sitting up that evening, looking out the window, at the sunset. I sat beside him again. Same chair, same place. He looked at me and smiled faintly. You stayed, he said. I smiled back. Always. He squeezed my hand, stronger this time. And as I sat there, watching that orange light fade into night, I realized something. Family isn't just who you love. It's who chooses to protect you, not harm you. And sometimes, the hardest thing you'll ever do is choose truth over blood. Never ignore what your heart feels when something seems wrong. Even if it comes from family, love should never make you silent about danger. And remember this. Money can be replaced, but a life cannot. Sometimes the hardest truth is still better than a comfortable lie. Because in the end, protecting your loved ones means choosing truth, even when it breaks your heart. I truly appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more emotional stories coming soon.